And suddenly, everything he trusted, every late night, every unexplained purchase, was a carefully hidden lie. What he uncovered next wasn't just betrayal. It was a calculated deception that would destroy lives. Michael Harper had built a life that many would envy, a life measured in concrete milestones and cityscapes that bore his signature. As a civil engineer in Austin, Texas, he managed large-scale transportation projects that reshaped the flow of the city, easing congestion and connecting neighborhoods. Each completed project stood as a testament to his skill and meticulous planning, earning him respect from colleagues and municipal authorities alike. His wife, Laura, was a driven financial analyst whose career had flourished beyond expectations. She earned more than Michael, commanded boardrooms with quiet authority, and spent long hours absorbed in numbers, reports, and presentations. Their home, located in a well-regarded district of Austin, reflected both their professional success and personal taste. The modern kitchen gleamed under recessed lighting, appliances were high-end and carefully chosen, and the living spaces were arranged with precision, each piece of furniture and decoration deliberately placed to project comfort and sophistication. To outsiders, it was the picture of balance and stability, a household where life ran on rhythm and order. Michael and Laura had made the conscious decision to delay children, preferring to focus on careers, travel, and personal growth. Weekdays were regimented, early departures, late returns, meals often taken separately but punctuated by shared routines. Weekends brought occasional trips, dinners at upscale restaurants, and quiet evenings spent attending to work or reading. On the surface, it was a life of stability, success, and controlled freedom. Yet beneath this veneer, Michael began noticing small deviations, subtle shifts that unsettled the rhythm of their life. Laura returned from work later than she had in the past, sometimes citing extended meetings or last-minute client consultations. She acquired new clothing and accessories, elegant and expensive, items that seemed unnecessary for her daily routines. Her habits subtly changed. The way she approached her mornings and evenings, the order in which she performed small tasks. Even the scent of her perfume altered, introducing fragrances he had never noticed before. Initially, Michael attributed these changes to work-related stress, the natural evolution of a demanding career, or minor personal indulgences. He reassured himself that small inconsistencies were insignificant. Yet as days passed, the accumulation of irregularities began to gnaw at him. The late arrivals, the uncharacteristic purchases, the slight but persistent shifts in Laura's demeanor formed a pattern that he could not ignore. Anxiety, initially fleeting, became a quiet undercurrent, a shadow that lingered at the edge of his consciousness. He found himself scrutinizing schedules, observing routines more carefully, cataloging the minutiae of their life together with a precision that mirrored his professional discipline. What had once seemed secure and predictable now contained fissures he could not dismiss. Each new observation, each detail that deviated from the established rhythm, heightened his sense of unease. The comfortable balance of their home and careers felt fragile, as if beneath the polished surface, an unseen tension was accumulating, waiting to be revealed. Michael began to observe Laura's movements with a level of attention that approached professional surveillance. He tracked her departures and arrivals, noting deviations from established patterns and recording times, locations, and unusual behaviors. Each late return, each unexplained detour became a data point in a growing archive of anomalies. One evening, while retrieving an item from her car, he discovered a parking stub from a downtown hotel dated to a day she had claimed to be at a client meeting across town. The discrepancy could not be reconciled with her explanation, and a cold realization settled over him that his suspicions might have a basis in reality. Recognizing the limits of his own investigative abilities, he contacted a lawyer he trusted, seeking guidance on hiring a private investigator who could collect evidence legally and systematically. The investigator, a professional with decades of experience, began documenting every aspect of Laura's movements. They recorded photographs from public spaces, captured video footage of hotel arrivals and departures, and meticulously noted timestamps and sequences of events. Michael maintained a parallel archive at home, organizing evidence into chronological folders that allowed him to trace deviations from Laura's habitual routines. He compared the new findings against her established behaviors, analyzing subtle changes in her habits, purchases, and daily rituals. Patterns emerged that suggested deliberate concealment, parking far from entrances, avoiding familiar cameras, and altering personal routines in ways that were both calculated and consistent. He cataloged receipts, tracked credit card transactions, and cross-referenced them with her reported work schedule, noting inconsistencies and patterns of expense that did not align with legitimate business activity. Each small detail, every perfume purchase, clothing change, late-night errand, and modified route, was added to the growing dossier. Michael approached the collection and analysis methodically, recognizing that the emerging pattern was not random. Every action appeared intentional, part of a broader strategy to conceal activities. He recorded, cataloged, and analyzed each element with precision, building a comprehensive understanding that the irregularities in Laura's life were part of a coordinated system. The documentation was extensive, chronological, and detailed, creating a factual map of behavior that revealed deliberate deception. With each new entry, the picture became clearer, transforming unease into objective awareness, and giving Michael a sense of control over the unfolding truth. After 3 weeks of meticulous observation, the pattern of Laura's behavior became undeniable. The private investigator documented repeated meetings with a colleague, Christopher, at various hotels across the city, each carefully staged to avoid detection. Photographs captured Laura entering and exiting rooms, her movements timed precisely and observed from public vantage points. Timestamps were recorded for every arrival and departure, hotel service receipts were collected, and parking records verified the locations and durations of each visit. Every piece of evidence was obtained legally, following strict adherence to privacy and public space regulations, ensuring that it could be presented in court or included in official notifications without risk of dismissal. Michael examined the documentation with methodical detachment, noting the exact sequence of events and cross-referencing each photograph with receipts and timestamps. There was no ambiguity, no room for conjecture. Each encounter, each choice Laura had made to conceal her actions, was clearly visible in the compiled record. He cataloged the evidence chronologically, creating a detailed timeline of deception. With every step she took mapped and analyzed. Michael felt a cold, steady certainty settle over him. Emotional reactions, rage or despair, were irrelevant at this stage. What mattered was precision, control, and strategy. The clarity of the truth allowed him to anticipate consequences and plan deliberate, systematic actions. He outlined a strategy to maximize both legal and social impact, considering the order of notifications, the recipients of the evidence, and the manner in which the information would be presented. Each decision was calculated, every possible outcome weighed, and contingencies prepared. The deception that had once hovered as a vague suspicion now stood exposed, undeniable, and fully documented. In that moment, Michael understood that knowledge itself was a tool, and that the careful accumulation of proof was the foundation upon which he could act decisively, ensuring that the truth would be recognized and its consequences fully realized. Michael constructed a detailed plan for exposing the truth, designed to achieve maximum impact while maintaining complete legal and strategic control. He identified all the recipients who needed to receive the evidence simultaneously: Laura's parents, her sister, her employer, Christopher's wife, and Christopher's company. Each notification was carefully prepared, containing factual summaries, chronological timelines, and the full range of evidence, including photographs and video footage documenting the repeated hotel meetings, timestamps, receipts, and parking records. Michael ensured that every piece of material was organized and labeled clearly, creating a professional and unassailable presentation that could not be dismissed as hearsay or conjecture. At the same time, he prepared all necessary legal documents for divorce, confirming that filings, notifications, and claims would be executed in accordance with the law. He arranged financial safeguards, transferring assets where appropriate and documenting every transaction to prevent disputes or claims of impropriety. Locks were scheduled to be changed, and household property, including clothing, personal items, and sensitive documents, was inventoried and secured, leaving him full control over access and minimizing the potential for impulsive actions by Laura. The precise timing of each communication was mapped, ensuring that all recipients would receive the information simultaneously, creating an unavoidable confrontation with the truth. Michael also verified the legal admissibility of every item of evidence, ensuring that photographs, videos, receipts, and logs complied with privacy and public space regulations, and could be used in court or as part of professional notifications. The plan was executed with methodical care, each step accounted for in advance, contingencies anticipated, and the overall sequence designed to maximize psychological and social impact. Michael reviewed the sequence repeatedly, adjusting details to ensure clarity, precision, and effectiveness. In this phase, he relied entirely on strategy and discipline, suppressing emotion to maintain control, understanding that the careful orchestration of disclosure would achieve a far more decisive outcome than confrontation or immediate reaction could ever provide. The deception that had once been subtle and hidden would now be revealed in full, leaving no room for ambiguity or denial. And the impact of exposure would resonate simultaneously across every sphere of Laura's personal and professional life. On the day the plan was executed, all electronic notifications were sent simultaneously, each message containing the meticulously organized evidence of Laura's repeated meetings with Christopher. Laura's parents received the documentation first, confronted with the undeniable timeline, photographs, and receipts that traced her actions over weeks. Her sister, accustomed to family loyalty and shared trust, was equally stunned by the clarity and completeness of the record. Laura's employer reviewed the evidence alongside corporate counsel, confirming the violations of professional ethics and the deliberate misrepresentation of work hours. Christopher's wife received identical documentation, a precise account of the affair that illuminated months of concealed betrayal. His company also received the verified evidence, revealing patterns of misconduct and expense misrepresentation. The impact was immediate and comprehensive. Laura and Christopher were unable to hide or explain away the proof. Careers that had once been carefully built were abruptly dismantled. Terminations were issued, professional reputations shattered, and positions of trust lost. Social relationships, long considered secure, were severed or fundamentally altered as friends, family, and colleagues reacted to the full scope of their deception. Michael observed the unfolding consequences with calculated detachment, recording reactions, verifying outcomes, and noting the systematic effect of his strategic disclosures. He experienced no vindictive elation, only a measured satisfaction derived from the precision and efficacy of his actions. Every consequence, every loss of trust, every social rupture was the direct result of documented truth and carefully orchestrated revelation. Laura and Christopher faced not only professional devastation, but also social isolation and the complete erosion of the carefully maintained images they had cultivated. Michael understood that justice had been delivered without physical confrontation or violent retribution. The clarity of the documentation and the disciplined timing of disclosure had allowed truth to act as the instrument of consequence. In that moment, he recognized that methodical preparation, adherence to legal and ethical standards, and strategic execution could achieve a level of accountability and resolution far more powerful than any impulsive action or emotional reaction could ever produce. The consequences were total, comprehensive, and irreversible, and Michael stood apart, observing the outcome with the cold, controlled certainty that had guided every step of his plan. After the divorce, Michael closed the chapter on his old life, selling the house that had once symbolized stability, but now carried the weight of betrayal and disappointment. He moved into a modern loft in downtown Austin, a space with floor-to-ceiling windows, clean lines, and open spaces that reflected the clarity and control he sought in his life. Every element of the new home was carefully chosen to represent a fresh start, from the minimalist furniture to the organized home office, a space where he could focus on work without distraction. He immersed himself fully in his professional responsibilities, overseeing major infrastructure projects that reshaped parts of the city and earned him recognition for leadership and precision. Within months, his dedication and strategic thinking led to a promotion, granting him authority over larger teams, budgets, and high-profile developments, reinforcing his sense of competence and self-sufficiency. As he re-established his routine, Michael met Sarah, a structural consultant brought in for a large urban development project. Sarah shared his values of honesty, professionalism, and integrity, and their interactions began with mutual respect and careful observation of one another's character. Their relationship unfolded gradually, each step measured and deliberate, building a foundation of trust that had been absent in his previous marriage. Michael found in her a partner whose directness and clarity mirrored his own approach to life, creating a dynamic of mutual understanding, accountability, and shared priorities. Their connection deepened not through passion alone, but through alignment of principles, a sense of partnership rooted in transparency and reliability. Meanwhile, Laura and Christopher struggled to rebuild their lives in the aftermath of exposure. Careers that had once been secure and promising were irreparably damaged, professional reputations lost, and personal relationships fractured. Social circles that had offered support and validation evaporated, leaving them isolated and forced to confront the consequences of their choices. Financial setbacks compounded the emotional strain, and the meticulous records and evidence Michael had compiled ensured that their paths to recovery would be long and uncertain. Michael, in contrast, regained a profound sense of equilibrium and control. The act of documenting every detail, carefully planning the exposure, and executing it with precision allowed him to move forward without lingering anger or uncertainty. He recognized that truth, methodically recorded and strategically revealed, had provided justice and closure without violence or emotional chaos. The systematic approach he had employed reinforced his confidence in decision-making and restored his faith in personal agency. As he continued to excel professionally and nurture a relationship based on honesty and shared values, Michael experienced a renewed sense of purpose. His life, once disrupted by betrayal, was now defined by clarity, stability, and deliberate choice, demonstrating that meticulous preparation, ethical action, and measured execution could transform adversity into empowerment and lasting inner peace.